You think saying yes makes you successful. So you take on the extra project. You accept the unrealistic deadline. You stay available, agreeable, easy. You become the one who handles everything, the reliable one, but not the one people follow. Look in the mirror. You look successful to everyone else, but you feel like a fraud to yourself. Because at some point, something shifts. Your team stops respecting your word. Your standards slip. Your energy drains. And one day, you realize this. You didn't lose control because you said no. You lost it because you never did. In the code of ancient warriors, there was a rule. A man who cannot refuse cannot be trusted. And that's the moment everything changes. You understand that being reliable is not the same as being respected. And being busy is not the same as leading. Today, I'll show you why your no is not a barrier, but the doorway to true leadership. And why without it, you will burn out, be ignored, and slowly lose yourself. This is not about being rude. It's not about ego. And it's definitely not about rejecting everything. This is about radical integrity. The kind of integrity that makes people trust you without explanation. The kind that builds authority without force. In the next minutes, you'll understand three things. Why most men confuse politeness with integrity and pay the price. Why no is the most powerful leadership tool you're not using, and how to apply it immediately, without damaging relationships. Because here's the truth, most people never tell you. Every time you say yes against your values, you lose power. And once people feel that, you stop being a leader. What you're about to see will flip the way you think about leadership completely. Chapter 1. The Silent Collapse. You've been there. Someone asks for something unreasonable. Your mind says, "This doesn't make sense." But your mouth says, "Sure, we'll make it work." Why? Because you want to be seen as cooperative, strong, in control. But inside, a quiet voice speaks. This is not right. Ancient Stoics believed that inner conflict is the first sign of misalignment. And here's the insight. Leadership doesn't collapse in chaos. It collapses in small betrayals of truth. The moment you ignore that inner voice, you don't just make a bad decision. You train people to ignore your standards. And once your standards become flexible, your authority disappears. Chapter 2. Polite versus radical integrity. Most people think integrity means not lying. That's polite integrity. Radical integrity is different. It means your external actions match your internal truth, especially when it's uncomfortable. Samurai warriors followed a principle. Your word must weigh more than your life. Not because it sounds dramatic, but because consistency creates trust, and trust creates leadership. Here's the shift. Polite integrity avoids conflict. Radical integrity creates clarity. People don't follow you because you're nice. They follow you because they know exactly where you stand. But to get there, something deeper has to change first. Not your strategy, your identity. Chapter 3. From operator to leader. There's a shift most men never make, and it has nothing to do with skill, intelligence, or experience. It's identity. You start as the operator, the one who executes, fixes, delivers. When something lands on your table, your first instinct is, how can I make this work? And that's exactly why you say yes. But leaders think differently. They don't start with how. They start with something far more dangerous. Should this even exist? The moment you stop solving everything, you start deciding what deserves to be solved. The operator is a firefighter. He's proud of how many fires he puts out. The leader is the architect. He asks, why is this building always on fire? Ancient warriors were not valued for how much they could carry. They were valued for judgment, for restraint, for knowing when not to act. And this is where most men break. They confuse usefulness with leadership. But usefulness makes you busy. Leadership makes you selective. Leaders are not respected because they handle everything. They are respected because they refuse what doesn't matter. And underneath all of this, there's something even deeper: self-respect. Because every time you say yes when you mean no, you feel it. A small drop in certainty, a quiet tension you can't explain. Before others lose respect for you, you lose it for yourself. And once that happens, something subtle shifts. Your voice becomes softer. Your decisions become negotiable. Your presence becomes lighter. Not because others changed, but because you did. The world doesn't decide how to treat you. It reads what you tolerate. And the moment you start choosing alignment over approval, you stop being the man who reacts to everything, and you become the man who decides what even enters his world. And this is where it becomes real. Because that decision shows up in one simple word: no. Chapter 4. The Power of No. Let's make this practical. Imagine this. Your team is already overloaded. Your boss pushes a new deadline that will clearly destroy quality. Old pattern. You say yes. You figure it out. You absorb the pressure. New pattern. Radical integrity. You pause. And you say, this timeline will compromise the outcome. I am responsible for the excellence of this outcome. To protect that, we have to adjust either scope or deadline. Short, clear, unshaken. This is where most men hesitate, because they think, if I say no, I lose respect. But the opposite is true. Ancient leaders understood. Boundaries create weight. Every no to something misaligned is a yes to your vision, your team, and your standards. And people feel that immediately. Chapter 5. Why it feels so hard. If this is so powerful, why don't you do it? Because your brain is wired for survival. Rejection once meant danger. Isolation meant death. So you adapt. You please. You avoid friction. You overcommit. Modern life makes it worse. You're expected to perform, provide, lead, and still be available everywhere. So you start saying yes to everything. But here's the hidden cost. Every false yes takes a piece of your integrity. And integrity is not abstract. It's energy. When it drops, you feel it. Decision fatigue, quiet resentment, loss of clarity. Ancient Zen teaching says, when you say too many things, your spirit becomes scattered. Your exhaustion is not from doing too much. It's from doing too much of what you shouldn't be doing at all. And in a moment, I'll give you a simple system to fix this immediately. Chapter 6. The 3-step system for radical integrity. Now you turn this into action. Step 1. The values inventory. If you don't know your non-negotiables, you will negotiate everything. Define 3 principles you refuse to break. For example, quality over speed, truth over comfort, long-term over short-term. Write them down. These are your internal compass. Clarity removes hesitation. You don't need confidence, you need rules. Step 2. The 24-hour check before committing. Pause. Ask yourself, does this align with my values, or am I reacting? If possible, delay the answer. Even a simple, let me confirm and get back to you, creates space. Space creates control. Leaders don't react fast. They respond with precision. Step 3. Clear communication. This is where most fail. They either become aggressive or vague. Radical integrity is neither. It's calm, direct, and respectful. Say it with a warm heart but a cool head. Acknowledge, state reality, and offer alternatives. Example. I understand the urgency. With the current resources, this would impact quality. We can either extend the timeline or reduce scope. No apology for being grounded. No over-explaining. Ancient warriors believed, A clear message carries more power than a loud one. You don't lose respect by saying no. You lose respect by being unclear. Here's what you've seen. Saying yes to everything doesn't make you strong. It makes you invisible. Radical integrity is not about being liked. It's about being trusted. And no is not rejection. It's direction. A man who cannot say no cannot lead. But a man who stands by his values, even under pressure, creates something rare. Natural authority. The kind that doesn't need to be forced. What is the one yes you've said this week that you know deep down was a betrayal of your integrity? Write it down or share it below. Let's start the shift today.